The winds howled through the narrow ravines that carved their way through the steep hills of Slovenia. Hidden from plain sight, perched upon a towering cliff, stood a castle unlike any other. Predjama Castle. Its jagged stone walls seemed to grow out of the very rock beneath them, as though it were part of the earth itself. If you were to approach it on foot, the first thing that would strike you is the sheer isolation of the place. Its precarious position so high up that only the most daring could imagine reaching it. Yet the air around the castle is thick with an unnerving presence, a sense that something ancient and powerful lingers here, watching, waiting. No one could deny that Predjama Castle had an undeniable beauty, but it was a beauty tainted by the dark history that clung to it like a curse. The castle, while breathtaking, carries with it an energy of unease, a whisper of the past that is too difficult to ignore. Its history is one of defiance, bloodshed, and betrayal. The castle itself seems to reflect the harsh and violent events that unfolded within its walls. Predjama Castle is unlike any other fortress in Europe. Built into the face of a sheer cliff, its design was both practical and defensive, intended to withstand attack. For centuries it had been a symbol of power and fortitude, serving as a refuge for noble families and a stronghold in times of war. But despite its impressive architecture and strategic location, it would forever define it. It is said that the first significant chapter of the castle's story began in the 15th century with a man known as Erezem Luaga, a nobleman with a reputation as ruthless as the land around him. Erezem was a man who made enemies easily. His ambition and greed knew no bounds, but what would forever link him to the history of Predjama Castle was his daring escape from the wrath of his enemies, a tale that continues to send chills down the spine of anyone who dares to speak of it. The legend of Erezem begins with his betrayal. Once a trusted ally of the Habsburgs, he was accused of treason and became the target of a massive manhunt. Yet, in a twist that no one could have predicted, Erezem defied the forces that sought to bring him down. Instead of running, he returned to Predjama Castle, knowing its impregnable position would keep him safe. It was said that he laughed in the face of his enemies, confident that the castle's natural defenses would protect him. However, despite its formidable defenses, even Predjama Castle was not impenetrable. Erezem's enemies, determined to end his defiance, laid siege to the castle, cutting off all supplies and leaving him trapped within the fortress. Days turned into weeks, and still Erezem held firm, confident that no force could break him. But it was his fate, and that of his family, that would soon become entwined with the supernatural forces that whispered in the shadows of the castle. As the siege stretched on, food supplies dwindled and hope began to fade. But the story of Erezem's final moments remains shrouded in mystery. Some say that in the dead of night his enemies discovered a hidden passage, an underground tunnel that led from the castle to a distant cave. It was through this tunnel that Erezem made his ill-fated escape. But as he emerged from the dark depths of the tunnel, he was struck down by a single arrow, shot by one of his own men who had betrayed him. His body was found lifeless at the foot of the castle's gates, a grim reminder of the treachery that had unfolded within its walls. Erezem's death marked the end of an era for Predjama Castle, but it was also the beginning of a darker chapter, one that would haunt the castle for centuries to come. It is said that his spirit, along with the spirits of those who perished during the siege, still roams the castle to this day. Visitors to Predjama Castle often report strange occurrences, cold spots in the air, flickering lights, and the eerie sensation of being watched. But the most unsettling encounters are those that involve Erezem himself, whose restless spirit is said to wander the castle, seeking revenge for the betrayal that sealed his fate. It is not just the ghosts of the past that haunt Predjama Castle, but the very stone and wood of the place itself. The castle's walls have witnessed centuries of violence, and it is said that the spirits of the dead still linger within them, their souls trapped in the echoes of their final moments. The sounds of footsteps, whispers and cries of anguish are often heard late at night, drifting through the castle's empty halls. But these aren't the only sounds that echo through the stone corridors. Some say that at certain times the castle itself seems to groan in pain, as though the very foundations of the building are crying out in torment. In the year 6 Prejama Castle has become a place of legend, attracting tourists and thrill seekers from around the world. But for those who are brave enough to enter the castle's gates, there is an unspoken truth. Prejama Castle is not just a historical landmark, but a living entity, full of dark secrets and untold horrors. Visitors report feeling a strange sense of unease as they walk through the castle, as if they are being watched by unseen eyes. Others describe a feeling of being pulled deeper into the castle's mysterious depths, unable to escape the oppressive atmosphere that seems to cling to the very air around them. Those who venture into the depths of Prejama Castle may also stumble upon the infamous secret tunnels that were once used by Erezem to escape the siege. These tunnels, winding through the mountain and hidden from view, are said to be haunted by the restless spirits of those who died within them. Some claim to hear the faint sound of footsteps echoing through the tunnels, while others say they have seen shadowy figures lurking just out of sight, watching from the darkness. But the most unsettling part of the castle is its chapel. Despite the passage of centuries, the chapel remains eerily intact. Its ancient altar still stands, untouched by time. It is said that the chapel is the most haunted area of the castle, and many visitors report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread as they enter. Some claim to have seen ghostly figures kneeling in prayer at the altar, while others describe a sudden drop in temperature and the sensation of being surrounded by unseen forces. For centuries, Prejama Castle has been a place of mystery, its haunted past lingering like a dark cloud over the present. Its beauty and history may draw in tourists, but it is the sinister energy that clings to the walls and halls that leaves the deepest impression. As long as the castle stands, the spirits of the past will continue to watch over it, ensuring that the story of Erezem and his betrayal is never forgotten. The strange occurrences within Prejama Castle seem to intensify as the years go by. Some locals believe that the spirits of those who met a tragic fate within the castle's walls have become restless, unable to find peace. The whispers of betrayal, bloodshed, and revenge linger in the atmosphere as if they are woven into the very fabric of the castle itself. As the days pass, the temperature within the castle seems to drop further, and the eerie feeling of being watched becomes more pronounced. People who have spent long hours inside the castle describe an unsettling silence that fills the halls, a silence that makes even the smallest sound feel unnaturally loud. The echoes of footsteps, as if someone is walking just behind you, reverberate through the stone corridors, yet when you turn to look, no one is there. Some visitors claim to have heard the faint sound of whispers in the air, only to realize that no one is speaking. These whispers often seem to come from the shadows, from dark corners of the castle where no light reaches. It's as if the walls themselves are trying to communicate the long-buried secrets of the past. At times, there are reports of cold spots that linger in specific areas of the castle. These pockets of icy air seem to appear and disappear without explanation, often just before a shadowy figure is seen moving across the hall, or before the sound of a faint cry echoes from the depths of the castle. The sensation of being watched intensifies, and those who are sensitive to the paranormal may feel a heavy presence, like a figure standing just out of view, silently observing their every move. Many of these eerie experiences seem to be centered around the castle's most famous rooms, the chambers where Erezem lived, the dungeons where prisoners were once held, and the chapel that has seen so many tragedies. In the chambers where Erezem held court, there have been reports of strange visions. glimpses of a tall, dark figure standing by the window, watching the landscape below, much like Erezem might have done when he was alive. Visitors often describe feeling an overwhelming sense of dread when standing near these windows, as if something is staring back at them from the abyss outside. They read contrasting passages. They read contrasting passages and they read contrasting passages, but the most terrifying encounters seem to happen in the dungeons. These dark, cold rooms, which were once used to house prisoners and enemies, now serve as a grim reminder of the suffering that took place within the castle's walls. People who have dared to enter the dungeons at night speak of an intense feeling of despair, as if the very walls are alive with the energy of those who perished there. The prisoners themselves may keep the stories they tell themselves, such as the sound of chains clinking and the faint cries of tortured souls can still be heard by those who linger too long in these cursed chambers. The detachment of normal self, however, creates chaos when we try to re-establish control over our minds. That's what you cannot do. The passageways of the castle, hidden deep within its labyrinthine structure, are equally mysterious. Those who venture into the darkest corners of the castle's hidden passages sometimes report seeing fleeting shadows darken just out of view, or hearing the faint sound of footsteps echoing in the distance. Some say they felt the presence of a cold hand brushing against their shoulder, only to turn around and find no one there. Others claim to have been lost in the maze-like tunnels for hours, only to finally emerge with no memory of how they found their way out. The chapel, with its hauntingly preserved altar, remains one of the most unsettling parts of the castle. Despite its age, the chapel seems to have been untouched by the ravages of time. The air inside is thick with a sense of foreboding, and many visitors report feeling an inexplicable sense of dread as they enter. Some describe the feeling of a sudden weight pressing down on their chest, as if the very air itself is charged with something otherworldly. Others claim to have seen shadowy figures kneeling at the altar, their forms flickering in and out of sight like wraiths. The most chilling accounts involve a figure in the distance, cloaked in shadow, standing at the back of the chapel. Visitors often turn around, only to find that the figure has vanished without a trace. Despite all of the paranormal activity within the castle, there are those who are drawn to it, unable to resist its eerie allure. Paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and curious travelers alike continue to visit Predjama Castle, hoping to experience the supernatural firsthand. Many have gone into the castle with cameras and equipment, hoping to capture evidence of the strange phenomena that have been reported for centuries. However, while some have claimed to capture images of orbs and shadowy figures on their devices, others find that their equipment mysteriously malfunctions when they try to document anything truly unusual. MS practice, nylon shading, ECMA scratching precisely purpose, full feature film. In the end, Predjama Castle remains a place of mystery, its ghostly inhabitants and its turbulent history forever intertwined with the stone walls that hold it all together. The story of Erezem, his betrayal, and his death may have started the legend, but it is the energy that lingers within the castle, the restless spirits, and the endless whispers that continue to fuel the darkness that surrounds it. As long as Predjama Castle stands, its secrets will remain locked within its stone confines, waiting for those brave enough, or foolish enough, to uncover them. For those who have felt the cold brush of a ghostly hand, or heard the whispers of those long dead, there is no question Predjama Castle is not just a building, but a living, breathing monument to the past. The legend of Predjama Castle will never be fully unraveled. Its history is too rich, too dark, and too full of unanswered questions. But one thing is certain: for those who enter its gates, the castle's grip on their souls will never truly release them. They may leave, but the castle's shadows will follow them wherever they go. And perhaps, in the dead of night, they will hear the whispers of Erezem and those who perished with him, calling out from the depths of the castle, urging the next visitor to come closer and uncover the terrible truth that still haunts the ancient walls. As the years pass, Predjama Castle remains steadfast in its position as one of the most terrifying and mysterious places in Europe. Its reputation continues to grow, attracting not only thrill-seekers, but also scholars and historians who hope to uncover the truth behind its haunted past. Yet, for every mystery that is solved, several more seem to emerge, leaving the enigma of the castle more impenetrable than ever before. Stories of people who have visited the castle and never returned, or those who returned changed forever, have only added to its terrifying legacy. Some say they have heard screams emanating from the castle's hidden depths, sounds that seem to come from nowhere yet are impossible to ignore. Others recount seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners of the castle, figures that disappear the moment they are acknowledged, leaving only the lingering feeling of being watched. Perhaps it is the unresolved nature of the castle's past that continues to fuel these paranormal occurrences. The final moments of Erazem's life, when he was ambushed and killed in the very place where he at once felt invincible, remain etched into the castle's history. The betrayal, the bloodshed, and the terror of that moment still seem to reverberate through the halls of Predjama Castle, as though time itself is unable to erase the pain and suffering that occurred. Even those who have ventured into the castle in search of answers often leave with more questions than they came with. The castle's very design, with its hidden rooms, secret passageways, and labyrinthine corridors, seems to be a part of the mystery. Many have tried to explore these forgotten parts of the structure, only to find themselves lost in its depths, unable to retrace their steps. Some claim to have encountered strange phenomena while exploring these passages, like sudden temperature drops, strange sounds, and flashes of light that vanish before they can be investigated further. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Predjama Castle is the sense of being watched. It's as if the castle itself is aware of those who enter, keeping a close eye on their every move. Those who have stayed inside the castle overnight often describe feeling a heavy presence in the air, an oppressive force that weighs down on them, making every breath feel like a struggle. The sense of unease only grows stronger as night falls, and the once quiet corridors are filled with the sounds of creaking doors, distant footsteps, and eerie whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Despite the terrifying accounts from those who have dared to visit, Predjama Castle remains an alluring destination for those seeking a glimpse into the unknown. Some visitors come to investigate the paranormal activity that has been reported within its walls, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. Others come simply to experience the thrill of being in a place so steeped in mystery and legend. Whatever their reason for visiting, they all leave with the same sense of awe and dread, knowing that they have experienced something that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. In the end, the question remains, what is it that makes Predjama Castle so unnerving? Is it the violent history that is still whispered about in the dark corners of the castle? Or is it the restless spirits that continue to haunt its halls, unable to find peace after centuries of torment? Perhaps it is the castle itself, an ancient structure built into the very rock of the earth, that holds the key to its mystery. The cold stone walls, the hidden chambers, and the secrets that are buried within the castle's depths seem to hold an energy of their own, an energy that lingers long after the last visitor has left. For those who venture into Predjama Castle, the experience is never truly over. The spirits that reside within its walls continue to haunt the minds of those who have come in contact with them, long after they have left the castle. The whispers, the shadows, and the cold spots may fade, but the memories remain as vivid and terrifying as the moment they were first encountered. The legend of Predjama Castle is far from finished. As long as the castle stands, its mysteries will continue to draw in those who seek to unravel them, But be warned, the castle's secrets are not easily revealed, and those who dare to uncover the truth may find themselves lost in the labyrinth of its history, unable to escape the grip of its dark and haunted past. As the darkness of the night settles over Predjama Castle, the air seems to grow heavier, as if the very atmosphere is holding its breath. Visitors who linger too long within its walls often find themselves feeling disoriented, as though they are no longer in the realm of the living. The passage of time becomes fluid, as if the castle itself bends it to its will, trapping those inside in an eternal night of mystery and terror. There have been accounts from individuals who entered the castle with the intent of exploring its historical significance, only to emerge with a profound sense of dread that they could never fully shake. Some describe feeling a deep unease, as if the spirits of those who perished within the castle were lingering, watching, waiting for something. These sensations seem to grow stronger the longer one stays within the castle's walls, with some visitors reporting vivid dreams of figures emerging from the shadows, whispering cryptic messages that they cannot fully understand. As the hours drag on, the sounds of the castle grow more pronounced, echoing in the stillness like a dark symphony, a creak of ancient beams, the whisper of wind passes through cracks in the stone, and the distant sound of what seems like footsteps can all be heard, though no one is ever seen. For those sensitive to the paranormal, these sounds seem to carry an unnatural weight, as if they are the echoes of something much older and far more sinister than any living person. Among the most commonly reported experiences are sightings of ghostly figures. These apparitions appear to be tied to the castle's grim past, often taking the shape of shadowy, translucent figures moving just out of sight. Sometimes, these figures are seen standing in the windows, staring out over the valley below, as if they are watching for something or someone. Other times, they are spotted walking down the halls, their footsteps muffled but unmistakable. The figures seem to glide effortlessly, their movements fluid and almost otherworldly, as though they are not fully bound by the rules of the physical world. The deepest trench representation of this approach is found in the table of contents, the latest digital version of the guidebook. One of the most chilling accounts involves a group of visitors who spent the night in the castle's chapel, hoping to witness something supernatural. As they sat in the dim light of their lanterns, they felt the temperature in the room drop drastically. A thick fog seemed to swirl around them, obscuring their vision. One of the visitors claimed to have seen a figure dressed in a tattered cloak standing near the altar. The figure appeared to be praying, but when the visitor approached, the figure vanished without a trace. The feeling of being watched intensified, and the group quickly left the chapel, shaken to their core by the experience. Despite the many accounts of paranormal activity, some remain skeptical, attributing the eerie occurrences to the natural wear and tear of the ancient building. They argue that the creaking of old wood, the drafts that flow through the cracks in the stone, and the echoes of footsteps are simply the result of an old structure settling with time. Yet even the most hardened skeptics cannot deny the sense of unease that lingers in the air, a feeling that cannot be explained away by logic or reason. What sets Predjama apart from other haunted locations, however, is its deep connection to the land. The castle was built into the very rock of the mountain, and the stone walls seem to carry an energy that is both ancient and powerful. It is said that the land upon which the castle stands has always been cursed, and that the very ground itself is steeped in blood. The valley below, once a battleground for knights and warriors, holds the echoes of countless deaths, and the spirits of the fallen are said to walk the earth, still bound to the land by the violence and betrayal that took place long ago. Some visitors have claimed that the feeling of unease they experience at the castle is not just confined to the walls, but extends to the surrounding landscape. The forests that surround Predjama Castle are dense and foreboding, with towering trees that seem to loom over the land like silent sentinels. The sound of the wind rustling through the leaves creates an eerie melody, and the shadows cast by the trees seem to shift and move as if alive. Many who venture into the woods report feeling a sense of being stalked, as if something is following them just out of sight. There are also those who believe that the castle's location is not just a strategic choice, but a part of something far darker. Some argue that the castle was built on sacred, cursed ground, a place where ancient rituals were once performed. These rituals, they believe, were designed to bind the spirits to the land, trapping them in an endless cycle of suffering and torment. The energy of these rituals, they claim, still lingers in the very air, feeding the darkness that resides within the castle. Pryjama Castle, with its dark history, its restless spirits, and its connection to the land, continues to be a place of fascination and fear. It draws those who are brave or foolish enough to venture into its depths, but it also leaves them with something they cannot forget. Whether it is a fleeting vision of a ghostly figure, the sound of footsteps echoing in an empty hall, or the sensation of being watched, Pryjama Castle leaves its mark on all who encounter it. And for those who believe in the supernatural, it serves as a reminder that some places are not just haunted by the past, they are alive with it. The castle's walls, its chambers, and its passages hold the memories of those who have come before. And as long as Pryjama Castle stands, those memories will never fade. The whispers of the past will continue to echo through the halls, and the spirits of those who perished within its walls will forever haunt the land they once called home. As the years go by, Pryjama Castle stands resolute, its ancient stones whispering secrets to those who dare to listen. The legends surrounding it only seem to grow with time, becoming more twisted, more haunting, as if the castle itself is feeding on the fear and curiosity of those who visit. Each new story, each new sighting of a ghostly figure or unexplained phenomenon only adds another layer to the castle's already overwhelming sense of mystery and dread. For many, the legend of the castle is inextricably linked to the story of its most famous occupant, Erezem of Pryjama. His defiance, his tragic end, and his apparent unwillingness to accept death have all contributed to the eerie reputation of the castle. It is said that his spirit still lingers within the castle's walls, seeking vengeance, or perhaps simply seeking to fulfill a promise made long ago. His presence is felt most strongly in the areas of the castle where he spent most time. The hidden chambers, the secret passageways, and the grand halls that once echoed with his commands. In other words, his great strategy was right on track. Yet, Erezem is not the only spirit believed to haunt the castle. Over the years, numerous other apparitions have been reported, each one with its own story to tell. Some say that the ghosts of soldiers who perished in battle still roam the castle's corridors, forever trapped in the violence and bloodshed of their time. Others claim to have seen the spectre of a woman, her face obscured by a veil, wandering the castle in search of something or someone. Her presence is often accompanied by a sense of deep sorrow, as though she is mourning a loss that never fades. The number of ghostly sightings has only increased in recent years, with many visitors to the castle reporting disturbing experiences during their tours. Some claim to have heard voices in the walls, soft murmurs and whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Others describe sudden temperature drops that make the air feel frigid, even in the height of summer. Some have seen objects move on their own, candles flickering in mid-air, chairs scraping across the floor, and doors creaking open without a hand to turn the knob. There are even accounts of visitors being physically touched by unseen hands. One woman reported feeling a cold hand grip her shoulder as she explored one of the castle's darkest corridors. When she turned to confront the unseen presence, there was nothing there, only the empty stone walls and the dim light of her lantern. A sense of deep unease lingered long after she left the castle, as though something had followed her home. But it is not just the physical manifestations of the supernatural that make Pryjama Castle so unsettling. There is something about the place itself. the way the castle seems to exist outside the normal flow of time. Its eerie silence, broken only by the occasional gust of wind or the soft murmur of an unseen presence. Many visitors have remarked on the strange atmosphere that pervades the castle, a sense that something is watching, something that is always aware of who is in the castle and what they are doing. For those who have spent extended periods of time within the castle, the sense of isolation becomes overwhelming. The walls seem to close in around you, as if the castle is slowly suffocating its occupants. Time loses all meaning, and it becomes difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. Some visitors have even reported feeling a pull, as though the castle itself is calling to them, beckoning them deeper into its labyrinth of stone and shadow. It is this sense of being drawn into the castle's depths, this feeling of being unable to escape, that has led many to believe that Paranormal Castle is more than just a haunted location. It is a place that holds power, an ancient energy that draws in those who are sensitive to its presence. This energy, some say, is what keeps the spirits of the castle trapped within its walls, preventing them from finding peace and releasing them into the afterlife. For some, the castle becomes an obsession. They return again and again, driven by the desire to understand what lies within its dark depths. Some spend hours exploring its many chambers, hoping to uncover hidden secrets or capture proof of the supernatural. Others venture into the surrounding forests, seeking to uncover the ancient rituals that were once performed on the land. But no matter how many times they return, they are always left with more questions than answers. The legend of Erasm of Paranormal continues to hold sway over the castle, even centuries after his death. The tale of his betrayal and his eventual death within the walls of his own stronghold is etched into the very fabric of the castle's history. Yet, many believe that Erasm's spirit never truly left, forever tied to the castle where he met his end. Some claim to hear the heavy footsteps of a man pacing the halls, his heavy boots thudding against the stone floors. Others have reported hearing the sound of muffled voices, as though Erasm himself is still holding conversations with those long gone, unwilling to accept the reality of his death. As night falls over the castle, the eerie feeling intensifies. The castle becomes more than just a place of historical significance. It becomes a living, breathing entity filled with the energy of the past. Those who dare to spend the night often report feeling a sense of unease, as though something is moving just beyond their reach, waiting to reveal itself. The sounds of the castle, creaking wooden, the whisper of wind and the occasional clink of metal, seem to take on a life of their own, growing louder as the night wears on. Visitors often speak of a strange, inexplicable pressure building in the air, as though the very walls are closing in on them. It is as though the castle itself is aware of the presence of the living, watching them closely, waiting for them to make a mistake. Some claim that the spirits of the castle are testing those who enter, seeing if they are worthy to uncover its secrets, or if they will become another lost soul trapped within its walls. The castle has a way of drawing people in, of capturing their attention, and refusing to let them go. Those who have ventured too far into its depths often leave with a sense of deep unease, as though the castle has left its mark on them, a mark that will never fade. In the years since Paranormal Castle became a popular tourist destination, many have tried to unlock its secrets, to uncover the truth behind the spirits that haunt it. Paranormal investigators, historians, and curious travelers alike have made their way to the castle, hoping to catch a glimpse of its ghostly inhabitants, or perhaps even to commune with them. Yet, despite all their efforts, the castle has remained stubbornly silent. It is as though the spirits of Paranormal Castle are not interested in revealing themselves to the living, not in a way that can be captured on camera or recorded for posterity. Instead, they exist in the spaces between the stones, in the shadows that move when no one is looking. They are the echoes of a past long gone, a past that refuses to fade away. They are the lingering remnants of a time when the castle was not just a place of history, but a place of power. a place where the living and the dead could coexist in a delicate balance. For those who have experienced the supernatural at Bredjama Castle, the truth is clear. The castle is not just a monument to history, but a gateway to another world. It is a place where the past never truly ends, and the spirits of the dead continue to watch over the land. As long as the castle stands, its mysteries will remain, drawing in those brave enough to explore its haunted halls, hoping to uncover the secrets that lie within. As the years pass and the legend of Bredjama Castle continues to grow, the tales of those who have ventured inside, only to leave with unsettling experiences, become more numerous. Visitors come from all corners of the world, hoping to uncover something, anything, that can explain the mysteries of the castle. Some leave with nothing more than the strange sensation of being watched, the feeling that they were not alone, even when no one was nearby. Others leave with stories that seem almost too bizarre to be true. Accounts of cold spots in the air, flickering lights that refuse to stay steady, and inexplicable noises that echo through the castle's chambers. But what truly lingers with those who visit is the overwhelming sense that the castle has a life of its own, that the stone walls and ancient bricks are not just silent witnesses to history, but active participants in it. It is said that the castle is aware of the souls who step foot within its domain, that it knows their intentions and their desires. For some, this awareness is a gentle thing, a fleeting feeling that passes as quickly as it comes. But for others, the castle's presence is overwhelming, as if it is watching, waiting for something. It's not just the physical presence of the castle that captivates visitors, but the psychological hold it seems to have over them. Those who have stayed overnight often speak of dreams filled with strange, vivid images of wandering the castle's halls, encountering figures in the shadows, and hearing voices calling their name from just beyond their reach. The line between reality and dream blurs as the hours stretch on, and it becomes difficult to tell if what they experienced was truly a visit from the past or merely a manifestation of their own fears and anxieties. This blurred reality is a recurring theme in the accounts of those who have experienced the supernatural at Bredjama Castle. There are reports of shadows that seem to move on their own, figures that appear in the corner of one's eye only to vanish when turned to look directly at them. Then there is the ever-present feeling of being watched. It is a sensation so intense that it can be physically uncomfortable, like a pressure on the chest, as though invisible eyes are following your every move. The sensation is most often reported in the more remote parts of the castle, the upper levels and the lower dungeons, places where the air feels heavier, the darkness thicker, the sound of footsteps echoing behind you, the doors opening on their own, and the quiet whispers in the walls are just some of the unsettling experiences shared by those who have braved the castle's depths. But it is not just the apparitions or strange sounds that make Bredjama Castle a place of dread. There are whispers of darker forces at work within its walls, forces that seek to bind the living to the castle forever. Some claim that the castle is cursed, that the land itself is tainted by the dark magic that has been used over the centuries. There are tales of rituals performed in secret, of blood spilled in the shadows to appease the spirits or to summon them forth. These practices, though no longer visible to the naked eye, are said to leave behind traces of their power, lingering remnants of spells cast and pacts made long ago. The most chilling of these stories involves the supposed curse of the Black Knight. According to legend, a powerful knight once lived in the castle, known for his cruelty and greed. He is said to have turned to dark magic in an attempt to prolong his life and gain control over the spirits that haunted the castle. However, the magic backfired, cursing him to an eternity of wandering the castle's halls, trapped between the living and the dead. His ghost is said to appear on certain nights, his form a dark silhouette, draped in tattered armor. He is said to be searching for something, though no one knows what it is, and his presence fills the castle with an overwhelming sense of dread. Those who have encountered him describe a feeling of suffocating terror, a sense that death itself is waiting just beyond the corner. The house had once more become temporarily empty. It is these tales, these dark and terrifying stories, that draw people to Predjama Castle. The sense of mystery, the thrill of the unknown, and the belief that the castle holds secrets that have yet to be uncovered, all contribute to its allure. Some come to solve the riddle of the castle, to uncover the truth behind the countless ghost stories. Others come seeking the rush of fear, eager to experience the paranormal firsthand. But the question remains, what is it that makes Predjama Castle so uniquely terrifying? Is it the history of violence and betrayal that pervades its walls? Is it the lingering presence of the souls that were trapped within its walls? Or is it something deeper, something tied to the very land itself, a force of darkness that has lived in the shadows for centuries? Perhaps it is a combination of all these things that makes Predjama Castle such a powerful, unnerving place. Its secrets remain locked away, hidden within the stone walls and the labyrinthine passages, and those who dare to venture into its depths are often left with more questions than answers, forever haunted by the feeling that they have uncovered something far darker and more ancient than they could have ever imagined. And for those who dare to venture into its depths, the question remains, will you leave the castle unchanged? Or will it claim you as its own, just as it has claimed so many others before?